Today we're talking Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3. Bam, 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 bam. Film about a journey of this lady and her boyfriend going across country to deliver this car to her father, and along the way the Sawyer family gives them trouble. So what happens? Where are they gonna go? What are they gonna do? Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 is the first one released by New Line Cinemas after acquiring the rights. And what did they do with the franchise? Well, they took it in an interesting new direction, like every entry in this franchise, especially 2, 3, and 4, which are known for being a little on the crazy side.
Never should have been doing this.
Who sent you? Those sissies over at Del Mar Catering? That chicken shit burrito man bunch? Well, I don't care, you hear? Yeah, that's right. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and from where I sit, there just ain't enough damn dog. You can't stand the heat. Get out of the damn kitchen, huh? Hey, how much?
This one is a lot more tame than I remember it being. When I was younger, I remember seeing this film and thinking, this is bonkers, this is crazy, this is so insane, and then now I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's a 90s slasher with some good acting. So, some positives and some negatives for the film. The positives, I'm definitely going to say Viggo Mortensen is a huge positive in this film. He brings a lot to the table because he's an incredible actor, and incredible actors do incredible acting. Viggo, this is no exception. He delivers everything he needs to. And playing Tex, I mean, I don't know if I'd wanted anybody else doing that. Viggo does great. Now, another positive is Ken Foree, who's an incredible character actor. You probably remember him from the original Dawn of the Dead, or you might remember him from some of Rob Zombie's films. And Ken is great in this film. He really is a believable character in this scenario, and we really feel for him as all this shit's going down. He's just an innocent guy caught up in all this, which really is most of the people that deal with the Sawyer family. It's innocent people at the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, this film also contains a thrash soundtrack, which is either going to be positive or negative depending on how you feel about it. I guess I'm kind of a thrash guy. I'm in a big Megadeth, Metallica, and a big Four kind of guy. So for me, that's a cool thing. And I think a lot of the thrash stuff in this is actually pretty cool. This film also has great special effects. I think the effects work on this is pretty darn solid. I don't think there's really anything in this film that looks bad from special effects wise. I feel like everything fits, especially what you're expecting of it. This one's definitely more dialed back from the first two, I feel like I'd say. I feel like this one's not quite as intense, and the effects are a little dialed back. They're not, Tom Savini's incredible work on the second one, and the first one's incredible work with the lowest of budgets. This has much bigger budgets, so I'm going to give the effects a positive. Not as great as the first two, but this one is definitely very solid, and it fits the film definitely. And then Leatherface. I feel like the Leatherface in this movie is really good. I think he's the most menacing he's been since the original. That's nothing against the second film. It's just that tonally doesn't go for that. And I feel like this kind of captures a little bit more of that terror and horror from the original film, whereas the second one went for a more comedic and strange out there. My first negative is some of the characters are kind of there and they're not really well used. I'd say the male lead, or the lead actress's boyfriend in the film, kind of just makes remarks and doesn't really add anything to the film, other than body count and being there. He's not bad, and I don't want to say he's bad, but some of the acting is here and there. It's not perfect, but when you get to Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3, I don't know that you're necessarily expecting incredible acting. So, a third in a franchise, generally, you start to see a dip. And I do think there's a dip from the first two in acting, because I feel like the first one is so real that the acting really fits. And I feel like the second one, the acting really captures the atmosphere and everything that film's going for. This one, the acting outside of Viggo and Ken Foree is just fine. It fits the film. It's good for a slasher film. It's definitely serviceable, so not a big negative. This film isn't really that scary. It doesn't capture the original's sheer terror, but it's not anti-scary. You're not laughing at this film. It's a few scenes of suspense, but mostly just kind of a nice ride through a film. It's not funny, which I guess can be seen as a positive or a negative, because people who want to go back to that original Texas Chainsaw Massacre feel don't want it to be funny, and they didn't like the second one because of its humor. This one kind of goes back to that, and it abandons the humor from the second one, so fans of 1, 2, and people who are fans of the whole franchise might not be a huge fan that this one just abandons the humor. This franchise, especially the first four, kind of feels like the Alien franchise for me, where you have the first one's horror, second one's something different, the third one's horror, and then the fourth one kind of resembles the second one. And if you see, like, Alien and Alien 3 are both horror. Aliens is action. Alien Resurrection goes for that action and goes way out there. I'm not a hater of Alien Resurrection, so I may have just lost your subscription. But that'll be an indefensive video in a little bit here, so that'll be an interesting one to tackle. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 really kind of is trying to capture that first film. And it's because the second film was kind of seen as a disappointment in terms of commercial and critical, as far as they go. And this one, it really harkens back to the original. So, not funny. You see that as a positive and negative. I'm not really hitting it really hard with a negative here, so don't worry. That's it. That's my positives and negatives for this film. I just don't get the hate for this film. This film, and I don't want to sound like, oh, if you dislike this film, you're wrong, or any of that, because I kind of hate that attitude kind of thing where, oh, well, you disagree with me, you're absolutely wrong, I'm the right one. No, I hate that shit. And if you dislike this film, I understand it. If you love this film, I understand it. This film is kind of filled with all these kind of different elements, and for some people it's going to work really well, kind of well, or not at all. And if you don't like it, I guess I can understand that. But for me, when I looked at the scores for this film after I watched it, I didn't look at them beforehand, because I kind of oppose that, because I don't want my opinion gripped by what everybody else thinks. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm feeling pretty good about this film. Let's see what these scores are. Rotten Tomatoes has it as a 19%. Metacritic's at a 30. And IMDb has it at a 5.2. And I understand that, yes, this is 1990. We're in a whole different decade. The slasher should have been long gone. That's what a lot of critics thought. And what quite a lot of audience people were thinking And I could understand how a lot of people would say, oh, it's been overdone, and blah, 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 blah. And yes, there's a lot of subpar slashers from the end of the 80s. But I think this film's a lot better than them. I feel like this film gets a little bit of a gritty texture to it. It feels like it's in a different decade than the 80s slashers. It kind of introduces this more dusty Western feel. And I really like that. I really appreciate that about this film. And I can see how critics at the time were saying, we want these slashers gone, we just gotta tear this movie apart. Bam, 1 out of 5, boom. And I feel like that was more of a reactionary analysis rather than an analysis of what's there. And honestly, I think this movie's a fun movie. I think that the uncut version is essential, but if you have to stick to the theatrical version, it's not bad. I don't think this film's bad. Yes, you can notice the little edits around where the stuff would have been, and it's not perfect editing, but if you're expecting perfect editing from Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3, I'm sorry, but I don't know what you went in this movie looking for. I don't know. So, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, it's a fun time. I definitely am going to suggest this film. I'm not going to give it a 5 out of 5. Don't worry, I'm not this complete loon. Giving it a 3.5 out of 5, the same grade I gave to Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. There are parts of 2 I like more than any part in this film. But as I said in my Texas Chainsaw 2 review, that movie got a little messy, a little muddy, and I didn't think it was consistently flowing. This film consistently flows, and I really don't have a lot of major problems with it. So I'm going to give it a positive score. Not an incredibly positive score, but a 3.5 out of 5 to me says it's worth a watch, and it's worth seeing, especially if you like this franchise. Definitely go out and see this if you're a fan of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. While it's not going to capture that feeling, and doesn't even try to, in terms of shooting it like that, going for absolute grit, quick kills, and just out of nowhere, you don't know what's coming, you don't know where it's coming. This is a kind of a typical slasher set in a different kind of setting, and I appreciated it. So, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3, what did you think of it? How do you feel about it? Let me know down below. If you liked this review, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. If you really like this and you want to see more, you can check out a video over here. You can subscribe here, or you can click on my channel thing, go through and see if there's anything in there you want to see. Alright guys, well I'll catch you in the next one. See ya. Hey there, want some grits? That's so bad.